there was a lot of trust that had to exist between consumers and retailers. But understanding that there is going to be more shrinkage, but knowing that, or hopefully, that the positive effect will help drive their revenue. That's that kind of balance, right? And I think that's where you're touching on kind of making that decision, and is it the right or wrong decision?
Maybe as you're saying, we take some of this stuff for granted, but were you dealing with friction and fear from retail partners? Like lift and touch, right? Has to be kind of like associated with fears of product disappearing and shrinkage and theft, or new designs. Like, can you tell me a little bit about what that was like? Like, did this feel like change, and were people afraid of change?
People are always afraid of change. It is a very tough thing to do as individuals for personal change. But imagine the fear of making a change that could impact positively or negatively for a large corporation. And so, as a vendor, we would often come in and be asked to be innovative, and we would want to bring innovation into the space. But there is a lot of hesitancy, and you're right, you nailed it right there. Like, how are we going to deal with shrinkage? If we put our products out and people can touch it, they're just going to steal it. And back then, no one actually had, everything was behind glass. You did not put things out in front. You did not let people interact with it for the fear that people would steal it. Any Canadians would know this, but many, many, many years ago, there was a store concept called consumers distributing. And
Okay.
if you ever look up consumers distributing, it was a pretty cool model, but you'd walk into their stores and there'll be no products out. Everything was behind the counter, but you'd have catalogs everywhere. And so you go through the catalog in the store, you would have a little sheet that you would check off and write the code for the product that you wanted to get. You would hand the card over to somebody, you'd pay for it. And then you wait 5 or 10 minutes, and then along this conveyor belt, your products will come out from the back. So, you look at those environments, and that was a very typical place that you would buy, hard goods like, a stereo system or, a Walkman and things like that. And now you jump forward to a world that you walk into a Best Buy and you have all these products there. You can touch the vacuum cleaner, you can turn on the TV, you can crank the stereo, right? So, yeah, there's a huge, huge learning. There was a lot of trust that had to exist between consumers and retailers, but understanding that there is going to be more shrinkage, but knowing that, or hopefully, that the positive effect will help drive their revenue. That's that kind of balance, right? And I think that's where, you're touching on kind of making that decision. And, is it the right or wrong decision?
Yeah, well, and it's always hard, right? I think it's always hard to be sure in the moment. The benefit of hindsight is that you have your 2020 vision, right? But I want to come back to something you said earlier, right? You said you kind of went this direction because you wanted to be closer to the customer,
Yeah.
right? And I love that because, to be perfectly honest, I talk to 100 entrepreneurs a week, right? And if there's one thing that I just want to understand, it's how often do they talk to their customers, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
like that's
yeah.
kind of it. So, casting back, man, we're going to get to what you're doing today soon, but casting
Sure.
back, like, what were you seeing in your customers, whether they were retail shoppers, whether people interested in the retail experience, et cetera, that was telling you, no, like, it's time for some new ideas?
It was kind of a two-way street. I mean, part of it was my own personal experience as I would go shopping and kind of be in the retail space. I think the other one, and I said this earlier, is the clients will come to us and ask us to be more innovative. They would ask us to bring, we want the wow factor. We were told once in a meeting that we're doing for an RFP that, the head of trade marketing said to me, goes, I want to see balloons floating around my store, and I want people to be kind of blown away. And I thought that was interesting because, having balloons floating around your store is just going to be triggering your motion sensors all night, and you're going to have security there. But
Yeah.
it's this idea that you want to enlighten, you want it to be engaging, you want your store to be special. And if you look at historically and then you look at today, it's gone the full gamut. I mean, we went from very, very busy stores with what we would consider a lot of clutter, too much signage, too many props, not clear path, being able to find things, to kind of a design style that you see now in the Apple store where it's very clean, very
Yep.
linear. There's a very, basic marketing is up, not a lot of information in the front windows. Apple can get away with it compared to other brands, but in general, it's this idea that, how do we simplify it? Another big one, which we really kind of worked, and it was very difficult to get retailers to buy into it, was lowering the height of fixtures. So if you think of a Best Buy about 10 years ago, if you walked
Sure.
in, and I'm
Old
6'1",
industrial warehouse lights.
exactly. If I'm 6'1", I could not see to the other end of the store, right? These things were probably 8 feet high, a plastic storage on top. I mean, it was just clutter. So this idea, like, let's bring all our fixtures down to a height of about 36 inches. Retailers were like, well, we're not going to get enough product out. And they're like, well, no, but people need to see the store in order to draw them in, right? And as part of the customer journey, we want to get you to walk and spend as much time in the store as possible. So, most people know this, but in grocery stores, what are the two most common things that people buy when they go to a grocery store?
I mean, milk and gum. I don't know. What is it?
Close, milk and eggs, milk and eggs.
Oh,
So,
so close.
right. So you know
I
what?
thought you
We're
were
going to put milk and eggs.
saying
Yeah,
milk.
we're going to put milk and eggs in the far back corner and hide it. So you
Yeah,
spend a half an hour walking, and in turn, you're going to buy a bag of chips, a case of soda, and everything else as you walk out the store. So so lowering the heights was really about that experience of, like, I'm walking in to buy one thing, but oh god, that TV looks beautiful in the back. Let's go
totally.
check it out. And oh, that Sonos system beside it sounds amazing. So it's that idea of, like, allowing you to kind of interact. That so who really requests it? It's kind of both. I mean, it's kind of people in the industry who kind of see that retail spaces have to evolve. It's market trends where consumers are expecting more or less. And then on top of it, it's also our clients saying, we haven't really done much with our stores. We want to come up with the next generation store. Can you help us kind of visualize what that would look like? And it's really kind of the combination of all three.